I've spent time in Buddhist monasteries. I have also visited Christian monasteries. And I can tell you often the good intentions don't actually work. They still have big egos. So it's good to remember loss of whatever kind is spiritually much more helpful than gain. It doesn't mean that you should strive for that. Life will give you what you need for your evolution. But of course, if you look at the way humans engaged in spiritual practices, in many spiritual traditions, spiritual and religious traditions, in different parts of the world, there is a very long and ancient tradition of people who practiced voluntary loss in order to find the kingdom of heaven within. So voluntary losses means you let go of everything, all possessions, and that used to be quite common in earlier times of Christianity, where you let go, you have no possessions. And it's practiced still in India, still many thousands of sadhus and others who have let go of everything. There's even in India, I don't know if it's still practiced, when a householder, which is a normal people, is called a householder, a person who leads a normal life, has children, has a job, has a business, and when the children have grown up, become independent, and the householder, the man, reaches a certain age, it was a tradition, maybe to some extent it's still practiced here and there in India, I don't know. Then the householder would finally say goodbye to his family. He's fulfilled all his obligations to his family, and in the final years of his life, he would go off into the unknown without any possessions, and often just depend on alms given by others, which in India would still work. But if you go off here, dependent on waiting for others to feed you, you may not succeed. So that was a kind of beautiful tradition. Just the final years of your life, you let go of all identifications. As long as the ego doesn't come in through the back door, and then you consider yourself as a highly evolved being. And then also, of course, the monastic traditions that is kind of seem to be almost dying out in the West are still alive in the East, in the monastic traditions of Buddhism and so on. When you go into the monastery, you let go of all the trappings that before you had identified with. So in a way, again, it's a voluntary loss. So life is not taking it away from you. You voluntarily relinquish it. You let go of the things that you normally wear, and then you just wear the habit, the saffron-colored habit of the monk or a nun. Then you don't have to worry every morning what you're going to wear, so that's a relief. Well, I basically have the same things too, so I don't worry very much either. That's why some years ago in some magazine they had an article about me, and the writer said the clothes he wears are stubbornly unfashionable. stubborn. I'm not letting go of my vest. And then you let's in the Buddhist monastery, so you have your robes, the robes of the monk or nun, and you also let go of your name. That's interesting because a lot of past accumulates around your name. It kind of clings to your name. Past memories, past identifications, they cling to your name that you carry around because obviously your name hasn't got that much to do with who you actually are. It's just the sounds that it's produced by your vocal cords. And you said, I am Jimmy. I don't know why Jimmy came into my mind. Maybe because Jimmy Carter just passed away. I just remember Jimmy because many years ago on TV I saw Jimmy Carter was president and he was receiving somebody. And I found it strange. He said, somebody came into his Oval Office and said, "Hi, I'm Jimmy Carter." Oh. And they say he was very, very modest. So perhaps that's why he said that. But of course, he was not Jimmy Carter. It's just sounds produced by the vocal cords. So if that already traps you, or if you don't say it out loud, it's in your mind. Then you have an inner voice that says, "I am Jimmy," whatever. Of course, you're not. So you go to a Buddhist monastery, then you let go of your name, but of course you're giving a new name. So you're given a spiritual name. The same happened in Christian monasteries when you would go into. Well, they still exist, but they're not very popular these days. Maybe they will come back. So you're given a name, and then you let go of all possessions. And in Buddhist countries, especially the traditions I'm a little bit familiar with, the Southeast Asian Theravada tradition, the monk or nun is not even allowed to touch money. And then other strange things. He's not allowed, if you are a monk and a woman wants to hand you something, you're not allowed to take it from her. She has to put it on the table, and then you take it. Just in case. You never know. So, voluntary relinquishment of all the things that before you had identified with, that has been a spiritual practice for thousands of years in various traditions. Also in China, the Taoist practitioners often lived out in the countryside on very little, not engaging in social interactions, normal social interactions. But for most of you, that is not your path. The voluntary relinquishment internally, yes, to voluntarily relinquish your attachment to all these things so that you no longer look for yourself in them. That is wonderful practice. And that is the true relinquishing. It really does not happen on the external level. The external may help, but it's not guaranteed that it'll work. And I have observed in many cases, I've spent time in Buddhist monasteries, I have also visited Christian monasteries, and I can tell you often the good intentions don't actually work. They still have big egos in many cases, with some exceptions. I have seen it work in a few people who became free of ego and became quite lovely beings. The personality subsided. And then I have met other monks in Buddhist monasteries who felt very, very important because they were Buddhist monks. And if native people from Thailand who would come visiting, the practice there is you show reverence towards a monk because the monk is highly regarded. So you show reverence towards the monk, and whenever you talk to a monk, you go up to a monk, and the monk, if the monk is the monk of the ego, then easily comes back, returns to the back door, so to speak, because then if all these people go to you, talk to you like this, without realizing it, you let go of everything, and then the self-image comes back as me, the one who has let go of everything and is therefore superior to you who have not let go of everything. So the ego is so cunning and subtle, you have to be truly vigilant. So for most of you, you just have to deal with what life gives you or what life takes away from you. That's your practice.